Right. Oh my goodness. I don't really know if this was the right thing to be doing, but you try new things. You try it out. And you basically learn as you go through it. So, okay, good, good, good. Yeah, I can hear and see you. Okay, good, good, good. I'm glad. Hell, hello from Claire. Hi. And Diana, nice to see you, or nice to see your name pop up. So that's nice. Okay, so let me know others are starting to come in. Put some hello on the chat so I know who's here. This is the new moon in Taurus, my favorite zodiac sign, new moon. So I'm really feeling at home right now because I love just like this time of the year. But some of you are probably wondering, why is she still wearing a sweater? That's because it snowed today in Colorado. I actually partially drove back home. I was up in the mountains in a snowstorm, and it was a sideways wind, like literally horizontal wind. So we have to have that in order for the spring to come. So somewhat used to it. We are used to this. But hi, nice to see you all. Susanna, aren't you staying up a little too late out there in Europe? You need to be going to bed. Okay, see you, but look a few clicks before. Okay, found the right place. Oh, good. You found it. So that's good. Yes, yes. Good to see you all. Anita, yes, looks great. Okay, good. So, hi, Linda. Oh, you made it in here. I know all of us are like, oh my gosh, it's new. It's new stuff. Okay, so this is like a one-person show because we realized that Chris cannot be on the screen together unless he sits right next to me. So we decided that I'm going to do this mostly on my own today. And I will try to pause and see if any of you are commenting. But let's get started. And I will maybe talk a few minutes and maybe do a little bit of meditation together and let others kind of slowly find their way into the YouTube channel. So thanks for doing this. It's all new, but sometimes we need to be doing new things, even though it's uncomfortable. I almost thought, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I'm just going to send Zoom link. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this because sometimes your brain just needs to be exposed to something new and doing things in a way that's very, very uncomfortable. So first, I wanted to just say a couple things about these solar flares that we had. And I'm wondering if any of you felt the impact. So, how I felt these two massive solar flares that happened on the 2nd and the 3rd of May. So, just a couple of days ago. And it was X class solar flare. So, what that means is that is the most powerful category of solar flares and impacted places like Australia, Japan, and most of China, actually. They had a lot of issues, widespread issues, shortwave radio blackouts, and things like that, too. So, of course, I'm paying attention to solar flares, but generally we get the message after it had already happened, right? Or it's happening. So for me, what I noticed was I actually decided to go a little bit inward, go into this dark moon phase that I love so much, a little before the new moon phase, the waning part of the moon phase that I so cherish. I decided to go up to the mountains and face my book, right? Because it's always a challenge. I have to tell you, everyone, I am not necessarily like so excited to write a book. Writing a book is a ton of work. And I've said this before, but anybody that has finished from cover to cover, know like whatever that book that you've written, good for you because that's amazing. Okay. So don't let any critics or people that give you 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star, like just ignore them because the fact that you did it, amazing. So I digress, but let me come back. So I decided to go and do a solo, little bit of a, time that I can spend facing the book, right? That I'm trying to write. But I was so distracted. It was crazy. It's one of those like Zen teachings or Buddhist teachings. And many of you probably know about this, but there are three arrows, right? um, Basically you're going from pleasant, oh, this feels pleasant, this feels good, I'm working on it, I got the paragraph done, to, oh my gosh, this is horrible, I have to go back and redo the whole thing. So this unpleasantness. And then there are times of just kind of like I'm in the flow, so there's like a neutral stuff going on, just reading up on it, researching it. So there are these three things that you're constantly circulating inside you. This is pleasant, this is unpleasant, this is neutral. So in the unpleasant moment, I found myself just doing everything I can to distract myself. Make another cup of tea. Like, I don't need another cup of tea, but I'm going to go ahead and make another cup of tea, or wander into the kitchen and I try, okay, maybe I'm missing this supplement, so I was trying that. I did the HMB. Many of you know HMB is really good for sugar cravings at night, to lower the sugar cravings, the distractiveness of the craving. So I did that. It worked, though. It certainly worked. HMB did work for me. But so I was just going through it over and over and over. But I realized that during that solar flares, and that impact will last several days, maybe even weeks after that. So when I realized, oh my gosh, there's this bigger cosmic influences that I am juggling, I am a part of, made me feel humbled. And then at the same time, I stopped kind of beating myself up. I wasn't beating myself up, but I felt pretty def- deflated, defeated at times, that it's like I couldn't concentrate. So, I decided, after knowing about that, I went for long walks, I did some stretches, I did some floor work. So sometimes it's good, everyone, to pay attention. And you can always go to space.com. I think it might be space.org, but space.com will always have information on that. Another one is NOAA. That would be a good place to go. I think it's NOAA.org as well. It's a government organization. So you can, pay attention, because this year into next year, like halfway into next year, we're going to be experiencing multiple solar flares. And, that's going to impact your inner antennas. Okay. So please pay attention to that. I wanted to say that. And if you felt discombobulated or disconnected, distracted, just a lot of the dis stuff, then maybe it will help you to check into space.org or NOAA.org to see, hey, maybe there's something going on at the solar level, the solar or cosmic level. And sometimes just knowing that a little bit can get you grounded. Okay. So I'd love to hear if any of you were sensing anything inside you that you're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that was what was happening. Put it on the chat part. And oh, nice to see you all. Great, great, great. Love it. Love that you are all making it to this live call with me. But let me know if you've noticed anything like that. And I have definitely noticed that it's a lot less strong. I have picked up the rhythm of groundedness and writing in the last couple of days. So I think it's the Taurus impact and Taurus influence. The moon has been in the Taurus for the last couple of days. So, or at least yesterday too. So it's been very supportive and helpful for me. So let's do, maybe go into, maybe let me say a couple of things about the Taurus moon, the maybe kind of a prep time that we're in still. And then let's do a little bit of a meditation together. So, the Mercury retrograde is has ended, but we're definitely in the shadow period still for I think till after the Mother's Day or so. So be aware if this Mercury retrograde did not hit you too hard, then you might still experience some of it in the next 10 days, or not even 10 days anymore, but about a week or so. So be aware of that because I'm starting to notice that. I'm actually using Chris's computer today to get on YouTube live because my computer won't let me get on the YouTube live. So, things like that, glitchy things. So learn to pivot, pivoting, that's a very important thing for all of us to be doing. And new moon is my favorite, very favorite time of the lunar cycles. But right before the new moon is maybe even more of my favorite time. That is the dark moon period. And I hope many of you are still taking advantage of that and fully participating in the dark moon period, because this is when you get to prepare your body, mind, spirit for this new cycle of the moon to begin, the new moon to begin, right? And when you are in menopause and postmenopause, even perimenopause, you're going to feel the moon cycles even stronger than ever before on, I would say, many layers of who you are. So think of it as like you're this Russian doll, right? You're the nesting doll that you just have layers and layers. In yoga, we call it the koshas, but you have many layers. And before, maybe it was just a physical layer that you felt more connected to the moon. But as you go into menopause and postmenopause, you're going to make that deeper acquaintances, or reconnecting with the moon on many layers of who you are. So really enjoy that. And if you are new to my work and you don't know what the heck the dark moon period means, I will explain it right now. But I would say this is probably the most important time in the moon cycle, mainly for perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopausal women. And during the dark moon period, I hope many of you took some time to do some internal weeding. Okay. Cleaning up your garden. Okay. So if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and even though in Colorado the spring arrives very, very slowly, I think most of you are probably noticing your own garden, or if you have a little garden in the back, or maybe even you only have a window garden and things like that, you still have to kind of attend to them this time of the year, right? So hopefully you've been weeding your garden and you've been preparing your internal earthly soil. And dark moon period is about 1 to 3 days prior to the new moon. So all of us are still in it in that period. Okay. Yes, we are. This is about the new moon call, but we're still in the dark moon period. So make sure you look around, maybe pay attention to certain things that you can discard, you can release a little bit, and review the last, I would say, since the solar and the lunar eclipses that we had. So we're reviewing from end of March all the way through that choppy, very challenging April that we all went through. It was like challenging almost every other day. Maybe some of you say it was challenging every day, but certainly like these waves, every other day there was something that you were kind of riding it. Okay. May not have been like a tsunami level waves, but there were certainly, you had to adjust to those waves all throughout April. So review that. What have you learned? What have you been able to let go of? Things that you don't want to take it forward. And don't do this work during the new moon, please, everyone. You really want to get this done. You should have been doing that before the new moon, and you still have time. Okay. You have a couple more hours, actually, a little bit more than that. So be sure to do a little bit of that before. Okay. You welcome the new moon. And another thing that you want to look at is like, what doesn't belong to me anymore? Where did I pick this up? I had to let go of quite a bit of things that I picked up. I felt like one of those Velcros, that the ones that side that sticks to you, the hook part, not the loop one. But I felt like I was wearing a hook part, close. Picking up on all these things. And Chris and I travel too. So when you travel, you do pick up on a lot of things. And one thing I did to help myself so that I don't pick up so much and so I don't come home with extra suitcase full of things that don't belong to me, I often use colloidal silver spray. So, that's something to put it on your maybe back of your mind. The travel season is coming, right? With the graduation and the summer months coming up in the Northern Hemisphere, you may be traveling a little bit more. So be sure to use some of those sprays. The one that I love using is from Zorex, though, that complete care spray that I talk about a lot. You can always check it out on my website, and I'll have Chris actually put a link on it. So that's what I use. I used it inside my mouth. I used it, sprayed it, and then opened my eyes and blinked. So I was covered in it, and I will put it on before I got on the airplane. As soon as I get off, I did it. So things like that will be really helpful. Okay. That's just a little side note. But hopefully you've been doing some nice garden, maintenance, okay, for the last 3, 4 days. Okay. I felt like this dark moon period felt a little bit longer to me. I needed it to be longer. And another thing is like, what are some of the things that you don't want to host anymore? And this is really interesting because in the last 2 to 3 days, yeah, I received multiple phone calls and multiple emails from my clients and friends who are dealing with hosting things in their bodies that they don't want. And there's these symptoms start showing up, like things like bacterial infections, viral expressions. I had a person with a terrible sty that I had to just tell this person to go see a doctor. Okay. Doctor didn't end up really doing a whole lot, but it's just like things are oozing out. Okay. Things are coming up. Sinus congestions, the mucousy buildup in your throat area. And remember, like Taurus energy can get us a little bit wet and muddy and sticky also. So in Ayurvedic doshas, think of kappas. Kappas are like, I say mud cakes that you can make, right? Kappas have the soil, the earth, but has the water element. And April, May, and into, I would say, early June, depending on where you live, you're still in this kappa time of period where it's really quite muddy and wet. So internally, you may feel kind of the muddy and wet dampness, damp energy in you. So if you're noticing some of that, take some time to, first of all, eliminate things that can make your body even more damp. And there's certain foods that can do that. Gluten can definitely do that. But actually, certain dairy can do that. Not all dairy, but I would say things like brie, like cheese, like brie, is really creamy and dense. So that's not the kind of food that I would recommend. So let's say if I'm going to go with the cheese, I would go with things that are more like a hard cheese, aged cheese. So things like Parmesan or, maybe Asiago or something like that. That's a little bit more on the harder side, not the softer side. I'm, oh, I don't know why this came up, but probably because I was feeling these things as well myself. And you might find more like dampness on your skin, even though you might be feeling dry. You might get rashes that are just a little bit more, not a dry rash, but a little bit more wet kind of a thing. You can build plaque. You might notice things like that, or like earwax, little gooey stuff coming out of your eyes. There's just a lot going on right now. Okay. So part of it is whether you're in northern hemisphere or your southern hemisphere, this around the April time can be a time that the universe is actually kind of asking us and saying, hey, are you in alignment with this earthly rhythm? Have you lost your greater awareness to this ecosystem that you are part of? Do you have a relationship with this ecosystem? So whether you are in spring or you're in fall, this is the time of the year in April into May. I said April again, but May is what I meant. But this spring and the fall time can really irritate our sinuses, right? So allergies, seasonal allergies, but a lot of those seasonal allergies come from eating things that are not quite in alignment with who you are. Okay. That is not in alignment with the seasons. So look around what's in season, right? What's in season is bitter is better for your bile foods, right? So we're talking dandelion leaves and dandelion flowers, but also like things like arugula, asparagus. So things that are kind of like coming up from the ground if you're in the northern hemisphere. So, and if you're in the fall season, you can also use like dried up dandelion roots kind of thing to make yourself tea. You can do like burdock tea. So a little bit of root based things that you might have accumulated or you dried up and harvested in the spring. You can use that in the fall too. But this is an opportunity for all of us to really take a look at your inner environment with the external environment. And if you're having things like fatigue and pain and migraine and allergies and sinusitis and digestive discomfort or the kind of the wet, damp symptoms in your body that's showing up in a dermatological, like a skin issues, you are not in alignment with the seasonal rhythm. So come back to it. And I think the new moon is a great time to kind of tap into that, tune into that, and say, what is it that you need? It's new moon is not the time for you to be setting all your intentions and wishes and desires and what's next and what am I going to do? No, the new moon is the time of silence and stillness after you've done the weeding during the dark moon. And you wait for the answers to kind of like bubble up or be gifted. It's a time of that stillness that you are not setting any kind of a future plans and goals, but you are so open that you're in the receiving mode, full receiving mode. Okay. So with that, let's do a little bit of a short, it may not be short, but a little bit of a meditation. Okay. And I think I'm going to start with this concept of I am here in this moment. I am here. I am here because it was quite challenging, I think, for many of us since the pre-eclipse season into the eclipse period and the post-eclipse wormhole and just kind of the choppiness of April that I talked about. It's been a little bit confusing to our inner psyche and our own internal organs as well and our systems. So let's kind of bring ourselves back. And I'm going to combine that with the fact that we are in the Taurus moon period. So if you want to close your eyes, you're more than welcome to do that. But let's indulge our senses a little bit, our 5 senses. And maybe like our senses love to play and be amused, and delighted by the senses. So take a moment right now and see if you can sense the feeling of the touch of the clothing on your skin. Maybe your hands will be resting on your thighs and you just notice the textures of your clothing. Just notice that. And you might feel, oh, that's pleasant. Or you might say, I don't know, that feels unpleasant. And some of you might say, that's neutral. Just make a note of it. You don't need to change anything, okay? So let the senses awaken through the touch for a moment. Because that is one way for you to be here. And next, let's rub our hands together. Clap, 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 and rub our hands, warm the palms up, and do clap, clap, clap a couple times. Blow in your prana. And go ahead and cover your eyes, close your eyes, and darken the eyelids. It's so rare that we actually completely darken our own space. 80 to nowadays, almost 90, closer to 90% of our information are coming in through your eyes. Okay. So it's like you are playing with the senses, but when you close your eyes and darken your eyes, they've done the studies on this. Amazing things actually happen. When your eyes are rested and it's indulging in the darkness, your other senses awaken, especially your hearing. So if you've been struggling with your hearing or maybe even tinnitus, closing your eyes and de-stimulating your eyes, lower the stimulation in your eyes, will actually delight your other senses. Good. And then go ahead and relax your hands. And let's see if you could not take slow breaths. Nice and slow in and out. Maybe just a neutral breath. It's not pleasant or unpleasant. It's just neutral. You're here. You're here. And if your eyes are closed, keep them closed still. And as you inhale, see if you could gather all that the you are, the koshas I talked about, the Russian doll that the you are, the nesting doll that the you are. Gather up all the layers of who you are. And as you take a nice breath in, say to yourself, I am. And as you exhale, quietly, you repeat the sound or the word of here. I am here. Bring the scattered self back in and say, I am. I am all that scattered and fragmented self. That is you, but you're gathering them together now. And then all together here. Eventually, you may actually even hear a chorus of the voice from inside. All the layers are saying here. They might do a little echo with each other. We're not healing anything or curing anything. We're not changing anything. We're just kind of gathering up who you are, who I am. I am here. And now as you breathe in, the energy goes from the inside, I am. And then I love to use my arms, because I'm a somatic practitioner, but I like to go now. I am now. I'm all encompassing now. So the first part of that meditation breathing is I am. You gather everything from the outside and bring it into the center. And next one is I am from the inside, like sprouting of a new plant. I am. And you expand your leaves now. And when you say now, in your mind's eye, see if you could gather all the things around you that is now for you. The computer screen, my voice is a now. The lights in your room, the clothing that is keeping you here and warm and comfortable, that's now. Maybe the walls around you, that's a now. The roof that is above you, now. So you've gathered yourself already, I am. Now incorporate the nowness of this moment. Inhaling, I am. Now, as you exhale quietly, if you feel called to say the word now, feel free, because the Taurus often works on your throat. So sometimes you just want to kind of say the word now. That's okay. Let it just naturally happen. And then as you inhale, that's again, I am. That encompasses all that is now and here. And as you exhale, repeat just, I am. And if you want to use words like I am, that I am, that's fine too. Excellent. Slowly blinking your eyes and wiggle your toes and your fingers, maybe move your shoulders a little bit, tap your feet, maybe do a couple of twists, get your spine to open up. If you want to stand up for a moment, you can do that. Let's see if any chats are coming in. I have more to say, but I figured I will take a moment and read. Okay. So, good to see all of you. I'm so glad that you could be here. Points for us to work with, please, and thank you. Oh, I know. I actually have a couple of points that I was going to talk about today. But I hope, how was that meditation? Let me hear that first so that I know where I'm going with it. Yeah, I've been dizzy and with a headache the last few days. I know what's weird, everyone, is that I never get migraines or headaches. Last night, all of a sudden, I got this really bad migraine right here. And I thought, oh my gosh. And part of it because I was spending way too much time in front of the computer. Okay. So I turned off the Wi-Fi and everything, and I just sat with it. But I realized that I was actually losing potassium from stress. So when you stress, you tend to lose potassium. And when you stress, if you get your blood test done, it may show up on your serum level as too low of a potassium or too high of a potassium. So either direction is a sign that your body is, your nervous system is stressed. So I actually took half a scoop of, so that's about 1.5 milligrams of potassium powder in my water, and I held it in my mouth for about 3 minutes, and I swallowed it, and within 5 minutes, that headache was gone. So I knew that I was stressing. And what happens is when you're in a high altitude, like I was in 10,000 feet, right? You don't sweat much, but you are drying up because it's very dry. So I had forgotten to replenish myself with a little bit of a potassium. So, that was a big one for me. Last night around 3 a.m., I woke up with violent dizziness and slight nausea. In the morning, I also had a nausea too, but that's the, part of the migraine thing also. So in the morning, first part, I had feeling like spinning motion inside of the back of my brain. It's better now. That's good. So that reminds me of one of the pressure points that I wanted to talk about today, which is in Japanese is called, I'm not going to even tell you. It's a wind pond is what the characters mean. But it's basically, there's a pond right here in the back of your neck, and I'll explain where it is. But so that you have this spine in your back, right? This back of the spine there. And if you slide your hands back and if you look up a little bit, you'll find the little indentations on the both sides right before, like a little bit before, you get into your neck, so your cervical spine. So there's like a little dip, and that's a really good place for dizziness and headaches. And it also actually helps with hearing, even though it helps with the eyesight and all that, but it actually helps to support your hearing and lower the tinnitus issues too. So you might want to do that while you're listening to me. Just kind of circle motion right there, put a pressure on it. Okay. All right. So beautiful. All good. I'm glad the meditation was grounding. Good. So, Taurus is the time of not just grounding, but it's a rooting. You want to root down, right? So, give me a couple more things, everyone. Sharon, yes, absolutely. The thyroid, you're referring to the thyroid supplement that you probably just purchased. And if you took the Moon Wisdom course, by the way, that was fantastic. I mean, I just cannot believe how much information I shared on the Moon Wisdom course, the Moon Wisdom Master class. But in that, I talked about the thyroid, right? So, it just kind of depends on the person, but I still get yes on the thyroid. I was actually even thinking about it during the new moon, and especially Taurus new moon. Taurus really does impact the neck area, shoulders, neck, throat, fifth chakra region, as well as the rootedness of you. So yeah, why not, continue with it. Okay. So give me a couple more thoughts, everyone, so that I'm not doing this. It's quite awkward. I just want you to know that. This is like really awkward because I'm just talking to myself. I don't see any of you. Meditation was also expanding. Okay, good, good, good. Yeah. So hopefully it was like rooting to you. It's not just narrowing you, but it's expansive at the same time, because I amness is not just this kind of a bringing it in, but it's also bring it in so that you can expand, right? It goes both ways. So, and then I would love to know if you've been doing the weeding of your own inner self during the dark moon period. I hope you have been doing that. And the new moon, creates a doorway for you to get back in touch with the cosmic rhythm, the natural rhythm, earthly rhythm, but also your own rhythm. And so it was so nice that I could spend some time on my own so I can get back into my sleep cycles. I can get back into my eating cycles. Sometimes that's very important. If you do live with another person, like you just set aside 1 or 2 days and just say to the family, it's like, I need to reconnect with my own rhythm. And that means everybody does too. I just want you to know that it's not just you that it's needing that inner reset. So that might be a nice thing to do during the dark moon period leading up to the new moon. And the new moon is a wonderful time to detox yourself of a lot of things, right? Fast from social media, fast from doing things that's like outwardly expressive. I was listening to somebody talk about have a new moon party, like indulge because it's Taurus. Like you want to indulge on champagne and chocolates and eat this and then have your friends over and then have a new moon feast. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, that is the opposite, everyone. That is the total opposite of what your inner body needs. It's the darkening, it's the quieting, it's the stillness. You want to come back to the still point that is in you. Okay. Of course, the Taurus moon loves comfort. So pause and just notice, what is comfort in my life? And, you want to not overly indulge, but you don't want to underindulge or under express your comfort either. What is your comfort? And sometimes it's really having, for me, it sounds silly, but having a little extra blanket than Chris. That's comfort for me. That's a pleasure for me. So come up with what makes you comfortable and what gives you pleasure. That's also very important during this new moon. And the new moon, spend the next 24 hours or so. Like I said, please don't put your intentions out there. Please don't be spending time thinking about your goals and how am I going to manifest more money because it's a Taurus time. It's like we need to grow up. Okay. Really, really, we need to graduate from that kind of a thinking and really talk to your inner self, have a nice conversation with yourself in silence, and really ask questions to your inner self. What can I do for you? How may I serve you? It's more like how may I serve me? So it's a very humbling question to ask for yourself. And because it's a Taurus season, as well as the new moon is in Taurus, feel free to like think about things that you can say, yeah, this is a worldly, material, earthly things that I really crave and need. Okay. Things like that are important. And like this morning, I woke up and it was pretty cold. Okay. Because it was snowing and I'm up in the mountains and my wood burning stove was already cold. So when I woke up, the temperature was 40, 47. Yeah. Fahrenheit. Yeah, it's cold. Okay. Can't see your breath yet, but it's pretty cold. So I turned on the electric heater and then I also started a nice big fire. And I thought, well, I'm leaving, today to come back to the city. But I still did that for myself because I thought, you know what? I need to feel comfortable. 47 degrees Fahrenheit is not comfortable. Okay. So, it's a great, like I said, it's a doorway. This new moon creates a doorway for you to really get to know your own rhythm, get back in touch with what it is that you actually need and require and what gives you pleasure also. Okay. And one thing that I would love for all of us to pay attention to during this new moon for the next 24 hours to about 30 hours or so, there's this word in it's a last part of the yama practice in Patanjali. It's 8 limb of yoga. I'm sure you know 8 limb of yoga or 8 limbs of yoga, right? Many of you probably know that. Part of it is asana, part of it is a pranayama and all those things, right? But there's a yama and niyama. So this is the last part of the yama, and it's called the aparigraha, and it's spelled A-P as in Paul, Arigraha. Okay. And what that means is that you're creating no attachment, non-attachment, no greed, so no overly indulging, right? And non-possessiveness. So for the next 24 hours to 30 hours or so, see if you could let go of your all of our tendencies to want to grab onto things or want to hold on to things, or taking so much, maybe putting so much emphasis on what would the others think, what would be other people's opinions, what would other people want me to say, just put all that aside. No more attachments to any of that. Take only what you need that creates that comfort that you need. Basic needs of the basic pyramid, of the bottom of the pyramid, must be met during this time. The Maslow's pyramid, right? That I talk a lot about. So take only what you need so that you can fulfill that basic needs. Okay. And sprinkle in some comfort and pleasure into it. Taurus time. Come on, everyone. We need to do that too. Okay. Keep only what serves you and let go when the time is right. So that's what I would love for you to, those 3 things, to kind of contemplate, taste it, listen to it, have a conversations within yourself for the next 24 to 30 hours. I'll say those three things again. Take only what you need. Keep only only what serves you, and let go when the time is right. Okay. So hopefully that's helpful for you during the new moon for the next 24 to 30 hours or so. And, it's an important, especially during the new moon energy when most people are so concerned about setting their intentions, wishes, and motivations, so they can manifest what they want. It is so important for us to, for those of you that have been following me, to kind of let those things happen. If that's what they need to do, that's fine. There's no attachments. You don't need to get yourself attached that you don't need to go teach them. Don't do it. It's just more what I recommend to you is to sit back in the stillness and have a beautiful conversation with yourself. Okay. And, let go of the need to be recognized, let go of the need to be praised by others and understood by others, even. When you do that and you let go and you practice that yogic practice, you become alive. You become so much more alive. And in doing so, your true genius, which is nothing to do with what your IQ is, your true genius is your brilliance that all of us came into this world with. We all shine as independently different stars. So you are reestablishing that light because in the darkness, you can see the light the most, right? In that darkest moment of the new moon is when you can see your own inner genius light. And that's your inner star. So that's what you're getting in touch with. All right. So let me see. Give me some hearts and give me some things so that I know you are all still, you didn't fall asleep. I'm sure you didn't, but and while you are kind of maybe thinking about what I've been sharing here, this is around the time in the Eastern culture where I grew up. April and May is the beginning of the year. It's kind of a astrological beginning, right? So this is a really good time to revisit your Year of the Dragon video and maybe go back and reassess. That could be a really good thing for you to do. Okay. All right. So let me take a look at some other things that maybe I was thinking about. Okay. So I want to just kind of give you a couple things about May, the month of May. Because of the Taurus energy, we are all going to feel much needed, grounded, rooted, and be here now kind of a feeling. You will be able to be in the present moment a lot more. So you can approach things not from this like a choppy, getting seasick from it, dizzy and swirling into different things. Like you will be able to approach things more in through the grounded way. And whatever that you've decided to do this year, especially right after the Lunar New Year conversations that we had about the dragon year. And, many of you watched that video. And I'll put a link below too if you haven't seen it. Please rewatch it or, share it with as many people as you like, because it's so important that you revisit this right around this time. But get back into the rhythm of things. I'm sure you noticed I know I'm not just talking from my own experiences, but March, because of the eclipses and that really powerful, the Great American Eclipse, that just like threw off so many things that I could not get back into my writing rhythm. I could not get back into my natural rhythm. And I kept saying to myself, how come you can't do that? How come you can't do that? Um, and at times I was kind of disappointed in myself that I couldn't. But I've noticed in the last, I would say 5 to 6 days or so, the rhythm is slowly reappearing. It's a little more natural for me to get back into it. So come back to the rhythm, get going on it. Okay. Be sure that after the new moon, during the new moon, people say, what am I supposed to do? Well, my thing is don't do anything. Okay. Become very, very good at nothingness. Become very, very good at being in the stillness and in silence and just having kind of an internal dialogue that is not forced. It's not like you're trying to figure things out. It's not like you're trying to resolve something, but it's just in this natural in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. I am here. I am now. I am that I am. That will be a very powerful thing to do. But after that, please get back into the like the rhythm that you wanted, the habits that you wanted to work on, whether it's your physical habits or whether it's you wanted to put some blogs up or you wanted to write, maybe you have courses you wanted to take, get back into it. Okay. And especially in the month of May, I'm so intuitively feeling that we need to help our microbes, these little guys, that it's all of us are more microbes than our human genes, as you many of you know, right? We have 10 times more microbial genes than the human genes. Okay. So don't let anybody tell you that, because of my genetic makeup or my genes, that I have to live like this. I'm in miserable health because of what I inherited. That is not true whatsoever. Okay. So you want to work with your microbes. So start to cultivate eating fresh foods, things that can help you with the microbes, fermented things if you can handle them. Okay. And maybe this is not about, this is a really good time actually to start putting back in the probiotics. I started doing that. I don't do probiotics a lot, to be honest with you, during the winter season. And come spring, I have this like a natural inclination towards I want to lean into the microbes. So that'll be a really good thing for you to do. And the month of May, um, feet. Okay. Your feet, so important. Your feet are where you live. Okay. So live where your feet land. That always takes you back to this moment, doesn't it? Because your feet are not in the future, feet are not in the past. Your feet are here now. So live where your feet are. And if you have not purchased the new shoes in a while, it's time. Okay. I actually just got myself a brand new pair of shoes, and Chris did too. And Chris said he went for a run. He's a runner. And he called me up and said, "Oh my gosh, I felt so good that I don't think I even realized that I just went for a 2.5 mile run, just like that, because the shoes fit so well. Shoes are very, it's like trying to fit somebody else's gloves, right? Or trying to fit somebody else's hat. They don't generally work out. So there are a lot of shoes out there. Shoes buying is one of the most pain in the ass, activities for me, because it's just like, oh my God, these are not made for my feet. They're not made for my feet. But I found one that really worked for me. So find ways to address your feet. Okay. And right now, as you're listening, and I'll be wrapping up shortly here, but when your feet are happy, you'll feel uplifted. When your feet are happy and your ankles are happy, you will be able to adjust your posture completely. Your feet can do a supination and you can do a pronation. You can move around. You can sense things. I mean, it's wonderful when you have great feet. Okay. So earthing is great, but also really find supportive shoes if you haven't. Okay. And the rootedness is very much connected to your kidneys. Okay. And I want you to think of your liver, and the liver has these what called liver's hepatoportal vein. Okay. So these veins that are connected to all your different organs. But the one that's very much connected to the liver are the kidneys. And your kidney point, K1 point. Okay. So I'm going to show my feet. Well, I got my socks on. So here it is. Okay. So right here, where your big toe is, little toe here, there are the little padding here, right in that spot. That's a wonderful spot to massage. So my mom will be like, she will be in shock that I was just showing the bottom of my foot on the camera, because in Japan we take our shoes off and you don't show the bottom of the feet, but I just did. Okay, so you're going to massage that area using your two thumbs. Okay, One's okay too if that's what works for you. I like to do in the little circle motions and then reverse the circles. Whichever that ones that feels kind of nice to me, that's where I work on. So K1 point, fantastic. Okay. Take care of your feet. Okay. So if your feet are not happy, your neck isn't going to be happy. And if you've been having like TMJ, if you're having a migraine even, and then also kind of a neck pain, obvious things like a shoulder pain that you can't seem to address, go to your feet. Okay. All right. So those are the things that I have for you. I mean, there's so many more other things that I have actually put on my notes, but I think that's good. And then I'll read your comments. Okay. So I hope this was helpful for you in just enjoying that nicely weeded earth in the garden. You get to just kind of sit. So during the new moon, it's not the time for you to be going out there and weeding and planting the seed. No, no, no. You go and sit and, watch and absorb the beauty that is all around you because you've nicely emptied it out. Okay. Think of the teacup story. Remember the teacup story that I've shared with you? So there's this scholar that came to see this Zen Roshi. And the scholar had been studying about this particular ideology and through the old ancient writings and things. And he was so excited to share this with this Roshi. And so this Roshi said, well, would you like some tea? And he's like, yes, 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 I would. And then while she's brewing this beautiful tea, he was still telling her about all this stuff, the knowledge that he picked up, all this amazing knowledge, right? And so she put the cup in front of him and put a cup in front of her, and she started to pour a cup of tea for him. And then kept pouring and kept pouring and kept pouring. And it started to overflow from this cup, this little teacup. And he's like, well, what are you doing, Roshi? That's enough. Can you not see that is overflowing? It's like you're making a huge mess. And then she just put the teapot down and just looked at him and said, exactly. Right. So I think a lot of us have the teacup that is overflowing, right? And we just haven't been stopping that overflow and actually emptying yourself so that you can taste that tea. That's where we're at. That's why I do recommend, if you took my Moon Wisdom masterclass, I talked about how important it is to do a short fast if you're in menopause and postmenopause. I'm not a huge fan of a long, fasting for women certain age, just so you know. I used to think it was good for everybody, and then I don't think so because our hormones are really, wacky, but also dropping quite a bit. We don't want to stress ourselves a lot. Certain amount of stress is helpful, but too much is a little taxing to menopause and postmenopausal women. So, but the new moon time, if you can, please cut back on too much consumption. Okay. Because I don't want you to overflow the teacup. Okay. So let me see. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Lots of hearts. I love it. Oh, good. Chris wrote the word, the yogic word. Comfort for me is walking in the force. I know. I did that too yesterday, and not yesterday, but the day before. And I came home with a tick. Not in me or on me, but it was on my shirt. So I was like, oh, I got to be walking through the woods, and make sure to check yourself. Okay. That part sounds too much overstimulation. I know. That's why please just don't do that. Okay. Absolutely weeding of myself. Oh, that's great. I'm kind of going backwards, everybody. So for about 2 weeks while sleeping, my hands are swollen, sometimes asleep, and my joints really painful. Is inflammation related to this time of the year? Yeah. So I actually talked about, and I recommend that you take my Moon Wisdom Master course because I really go into it. And for those of you that have taken that course, that you can answer her question, can't you? Because we talked about how the water retention happens right at a certain time of the moon cycles. So it's could be that this time of the year because I talked about the kapha season that we're in. We're in a damp season, right? The mud cake season. So there's some of that as well. Okay, yes, I immensely enjoyed just noticing the fresh, tender plants in my garden and just being by myself. I know, listen to the birds, love it. Yes, continue, continue that sense for the next, just like embrace it, really cherish it for the next 24 hours to 30 hours. Okay. And oh, good. Thank you. Hearts, hearts. Love it. Thank you. Okay. Oh, yes. Vietnam. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Oh, yeah, it's a good timing, isn't it, over there? I was hoping my brother would join me from Japan, but it's a morning time. So I love your sharing since day one I found you. Oh, thank you. I hope this is all helpful using some of my stories as well. I did a cleanse for 5 to 6 days. Instead of releasing it, was creating opposite effect. I felt that in my body and I needed to approach things a bit differently. This helped to shift my emotions. Yeah, I'm glad that you could. So I didn't read that, before I commented it on the fasting, but I have a little bit of a issues with the fasting and cleansing. I think we need to do that approach a little gentler as we go into menopause and postmenopause. So, and that's funny because I just had the thought of needing a new pair. Yeah, pair of shoes, right? Seriously, go out and get yourself a brand new pair. I can't even remember the last time I gave myself the pleasure of wearing brand new shoes. That's ridiculous. I think I bought my pair of shoes before COVID. Okay. And I walk a lot. That's horrible. Okay. I'm just like, I cannot believe I did that to myself. Okay. So please do check into the shoes. Okay. Any quick advice for intense low back pain? So yeah, that K1 point, that's the one. I would love for you to work on that K1 point. Okay. And most of the time, everyone, that the lower back pain comes from the tight calves. Okay. Your calves can get so rigid and Achilles tendon can get tight too, but the calves can get so tight that will tighten up your lower back. So when I used to do hands-on work on people's bodies and they will come in and see me for their lower back pain, I went straight to their calves and then the K1 point. And then I would do some psoas work, deep psoas release and things. But I would start with those calves and the K1 point. Okay. Thank you for the bottom of your feet. I know. So that's cute. So very helpful. Thank you so much. You're welcome. I did enjoy this moment. Okay, good. I know it's this moment, this moment. Okay. Thank you also for the reminder for new shoes. Yes, you're welcome. I know, isn't it weird things that will come up to me, right? Thank you from my two cat to a toe, maybe two toe, and me too. Okay. I love those names. I, maybe me. Okay. There are my answers. Thank you. You're welcome. What the Japanese expression for 3/4 full? What's that mean? I don't know. Hara maybe. Hara that's the 80-20 rule, but don't know. Yes, luckily me, not only I use it for myself, but also explain it to others too. Is the metabolic cleanse happening soon? I know. We're still waiting for the cleanse kit to arrive. So we will tell you as soon as we know. Okay. So I think that's all I have. If you don't have any other questions, let's wrap up and so that we can go into our inner terrain, inner world. And let me know if this was helpful on the comment sections as well once it goes up. I so appreciate it. That's how I'm, that fuels, that's food for my own spirit and soul as well. And you letting others know about my work. And so, in summary, with the new moon in Taurus, find what makes you comfortable, what's comfort in your life, right? But also what gives you pleasure. But also, this is not the time to be writing down all that you want. Okay. This has nothing to do with it. It is really about you sitting with who you are and this beautiful being that you are. And you're cherishing that with you in stillness and silence with your all five senses fully engaged in this life. Okay. And live with the seasonality. Take care of your feet. Take care of the points that I showed you, the windy pond point, okay, in the back of your neck area. And other things are just take a little bit of time if you're live here to finish the weeding of your inner terrain as well as your surroundings. Okay. So let's bring our hands together in a namaste setting and bring your attention to your thymus. Thymus is very important. Thymus begins to shrink as we get older. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing a lot more viral and bacterial infections as well. So when your thumbs are touching that point, you're gently stimulating that point as well. Bring gratitude to that point, gratitude to the inner self, the outer self, to the nowness. And I will see you all soon. Namaste.